You need to understand that everyone had their reasons, and you need to understand what those reasons are.
13 Reasons Why ended with Bryce Walker's killer being revealed. Did you guess right? Let's break it down and find out just what happened. What's going on, you lovely people? Lisa here, and yes, I have finally made my way through Season 3 of 13 Reasons Why. I'm sorry it took me a little longer than usual to get through this because, well, if I'm being honest, I found Ani, the new character, really irritating, and that really made it hard for me to kind of get through, but that's for me to rant about another time. This video, I'm just going to talk about how Season 3 ended, the finale, and who killed Bryce Walker. Now, if you want a more in-depth explanation of the season and what happened with every character, I'll have another video on that a little later, which you'll find somewhere in the description or right up here when it's actually finished. But like I said, this video is going to focus on just the ending and the cliffhangers we have going into Season 4. And I feel like it goes without saying, but just in case, warning, there are major spoilers ahead. Alright, so essentially this season played out as we listen to new girl Ani tell Deputy Standall who killed Bryce Walker. And as we hear her talking, we see the events of what really happened play out on screen. As expected, every character has motive, most get questioned by the police, and this group continues to do whatever it takes to protect one of their own, even if that means getting away with murder. What? So the main question this season was who killed Bryce Walker? Well, in a way you could say it was a combination of things, but ultimately it was Alex Standall. But did Alex go down for murder? No, they actually ended up pinning the murder on Monty and seem to have gotten away with it for now because, well, Monty's dead. And well, if you're wondering kind of like, wait, what? Did you just say they pinned the crime on a dead guy? How on earth did we get there? Well, that's what this video is for, so let's dive into just the explanation for how we got to that ending. So over the course of the 8 months since the end of Season 2, every character had some interaction with Bryce Walker that they tried to keep a secret, thus leading to them having motive to kill Bryce. Now this season's new character is Ani, who started at Liberty High pretty much the next school day after the spring fling incident and quickly inserted herself into this tangled web of so-called friends because Clay gave Ani a school tour and she pretty much latched on. Turns out Ani lives at the Walker house because her mom is Bryce's grandfather's caretaker. As for Ani, she ends up sticking her nose kind of where it doesn't belong, instigating a lot of things. She ends up actually striking up a relationship with not only Bryce, but also Clay. Well, as expected from the trailers and just from the show, if you've watched it, Clay becomes the main person of interest and suspect because of, well, the surveillance video of him with the gun outside Bryce's house from Season 2, which ends up coming to light, and the fact that Clay got in a fight with Bryce not too long before his disappearance and death. Then, the night of the homecoming game when Bryce disappeared, Clay sent texts to Bryce saying he wanted to kill him. And well, those were a result of Clay seeing Bryce and Ani kiss before the game. So yeah, things definitely didn't look good for Clay's case from the get-go. Plus, he just always acts guilty and looks freaking guilty. Plus, I don't think he's fully mentally stable, but also, Mrs. Walker has had it out for him for a while, so she was definitely shoving Clay down the police's throat as the culprit. We see Ani tell the story to Deputy Standall that everything started at the homecoming game that night between Liberty High and Hillcrest, which was Bryce's new school. Now that night, Jessica's Hands Off Club, made up of sexual assault survivors and allies, interrupted the game at the start of the second half. Now when Chick from Riverdale decided to grope Jessica, all hell broke loose as everyone started fighting and Clay attacked Bryce, and then Bryce decided to take a cheap shot at Zach and broke Zach's leg. And the motive there was because right before the game, Bryce ran into Chloe and he learned that she aborted his baby and Zach was the one who was there for her throughout it all. So this was Bryce's revenge. After the game, Bryce went to Navy Pier to wait for Jessica because before the game, he had texted her saying he wanted to give her something. She reluctantly met up with him, but he had to rush away. So he said he'd be there waiting at the pier if she wanted to come and meet with him, and that she could bring someone with her if it made her feel safer. Well, as Bryce waited for Jessica to possibly show up, someone else decided to show up first.
Zachy? Didn't expect to see you here. What's up, friend? You.
Now, Zach's knee was so messed up because of Bryce that he was going to have 2 surgeries on his knee, and his sports career was essentially over, and his future was looking pretty grim in a way, at least at that moment in time. So Zach is pissed at Bryce for ruining his life and pretty much everything. So Zach ends up beating the crap out of Bryce. And well, Bryce just can't keep his mouth shut because ultimately he's still a monster, and Zach ends up not only breaking Bryce's leg pretty brutally, but also his arm, and throwing Bryce's phone in the river and just leaving him there. Now, because of this, Zach thinks he killed Bryce, so he goes to the police station to confess, but it turns out that Bryce didn't die from blunt force trauma or a gunshot wound, which was originally thought by the news. Bryce died from drowning, so Zach is actually off the hook. So how did Bryce actually drown? Well, Jessica does end up deciding to meet with Bryce, so she sneaks out of the house after her dad tucks her in. And since Justin is actually back off using drugs, and so he was getting high, she enlists Alex to go with her. Now they find Bryce helpless on the ground, and he manages to pull out a cassette tape, which is what he wanted to give to Jessica. Now on this tape, he ends up confessing to everything and says that he was trying to change, but even he knows that he might never change. Now, as he's pulling the tape out, since he's so badly beaten, it falls in his blood, but Jessica grabs the tape. As they're about to leave, Bryce pleads for help and to not leave him there since it's gonna get so cold at night and he could pretty much die if he's left there. So Alex attempts to help Bryce, but has a hard time because, well, Bryce is probably 2 times the size of Alex, and Alex already has a limp, and the fact that Bryce can't walk either, it's just a bad combo. But here's the thing, you don't wanna bite the hand that feeds you, the person who's helping you, right? So as Alex is trying to help Bryce starts running his mouth about how he's gonna get revenge on Zach, and Zach's dead, man. And you know that Alex and Zach are close, and this just ends up setting off Alex, who's pretty much had a whole history throughout this season of rage and these outbursts, partly due to his brain and also partly due to some roid rage because he was on steroids. But essentially, Bryce talking shit about Zach makes Alex snap.
Monty looked into his eyes.
You've hurt everyone I ever loved.
Monty realized that the cycle had to be broken somehow.
Alex, what?
And well, Alex ends up pushing Bryce into the river, and he and Jess can't really do anything about it, and they watch Bryce drown before leaving. So as you can guess, Jess is pretty nervous now that the cops are after everybody, since she has that tape with Bryce's blood on it. But here's the thing, Alex actually gets off of this murder and doesn't end up going to jail. It's pinned on somebody else. But that doesn't mean that Alex does not live with the guilt of it. Alex actually goes to Tyler asking if he still has a gun.
You asked Tyler for a gun today?
I wrote a confession, and I don't know.
Jesus.
Well, I guess lucky for probably everybody, Tyler no longer has any guns. Now this actually happens to be the same day Ani goes down to the police station to explain everything to Deputy Standall. And without selling out Tyler for the spring fling or saying Alex killed Bryce, she pins the blame on Monty. Yeah, that's right, Monty Dela Cruz. But why would they pin it on Monty, and why would that situation work? Well, throughout the season, we actually see Tyler get better, and he eventually tells Clay and then Jessica as well as Bryce about what Monty actually did to him. Yes, you heard me right, Tyler told Bryce about what Monty did to him after thinking Bryce had told Monty to do it to him, because that's what Monty led Tyler to believe. And well, after hearing that, Tyler takes the one gun that he saved just in case he thought he would want to not live anymore either, and he takes it to confront Bryce. Now, Tyler does not end up doing anything there, but mentions Monty, and eventually Bryce pays Tyler a visit at Liberty High to find out what he meant by what Monty did to him and what really happened. Tyler ends up showing Bryce the video he had made to leave everyone the night of the shooting that explained his motives and why he did what he did. Bryce then went and told Monty to leave Tyler alone or he'd pay, and then Bryce left Tyler a message the night of the homecoming game saying everything was handled. Then on the field, Bryce and Monty had it out for each other the entire game, and Tyler thinks that this is motive for Monty to want to kill Bryce. And after getting up the courage to stand up as a victim of sexual assault with the help of Clay and Jessica and Justin and the course of everybody who's helped him through this season, Tyler ends up filing a police report against Monty, and Monty gets arrested. Now when Ani is telling Deputy Standall that Monty is the one who killed Bryce, there's a little snag. You see, Deputy Standall, he's pretty smart, and by this time he's actually put together all the pieces of this puzzle and has high suspicions that his own son Alex did it.
So the kid that was in the fight here was dragging his right foot, like Zach would've. What about this one? Doesn't this show a left foot being dragged?
I've got footprints I've got tire treads consistent with my wife's car, and she was at home in bed all night.
Ani, though, insists it was Monty, and then Deputy Standall reveals some big news. Monty was killed in his jail cell that morning, which is actually something Ani already knew, which is why this plan was pretty much put into motion, because she learned about it from a game of telephone that started with the low-life steroid dealer that was in jail the same time as Monty. Now, since the group already knew that Monty was dead, that's why Ani went in there with this story ready to go, and they made this elaborate plan to pin Bryce's death on Monty. They even planted that cassette tape in Monty's locker with the help of his former sidekick, and yeah, they basically thought they could save Alex and no one would think twice about it. Because Deputy Standall also wants to protect his son, their plan ends up working, and Deputy Standall tells Alex that the case has been closed and they've basically said Monty did it. But Deputy Standall definitely knows Alex had something to do with Bryce's death, and we see him burning Alex's clothes from the night of the crime and anything that could link him to the scene. Seems like moving forward, though, things might be a little tense at home with this relationship.
Father, please bless and keep safe our children. Their world is darker than ours. And Father, forgive us for what we've done to make it that way. May God keep us all and help us to be truly grateful for our life and our freedom.
Yeah, talk about an awkward Thanksgiving, right? Now, honestly, the show probably should have ended after season 1, but here we are now at the end of season 3, and honestly, this show easily could have ended here. They had the perfect, I feel like, ending scene. This scene.
You know what? I want better than that. We've been through so much and I just want something different. I want more.
I'm with you.
We deserve some happiness.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, we do.
I mean, come on, these kids in this show have been through so much. Don't you just want them to find some happiness and start their damn recovery process? No. Instead, Netflix has given the show a season 4 that is already being filmed, that's coming, I'm guessing, sometime next year. But we do know that will be the final season, and we'll deal with these kids finally graduating high school. But it's probably not going to be very easy because we have 2 cliffhangers coming into play at the end of season 3. So what are those 2 cliffhangers? Well, for one, remember Tyler's guns from the night of Spring Fling? Well, Tony and Clay thought the best way to get rid of the bag of guns was to, well, dump it in the river, which they became concerned about when Bryce was found in the river and they started combing the river for any evidence. Well, that will actually come back to bite them in the ass as we see a boat awkwardly named the Predator catch that bag in their fishing nets. And we also see Winston, who came into play this season, ask Ani outside of Monet's at the end of the episode what she told the police to have them pin everything on Monty, when she knows that was not the truth. Now, who is this Winston, you may ask? Well, it turns out that Monty had a lot of issues, which we already knew. Now, one of the theories that have been floating around since season 2 was that he has internalized homophobia, which ends up being correct. Now, when Bryce takes Monty to a party over the summer, Monty ends up hooking up with a guy named Winston from Hillcrest. When they're leaving the party, though, Winston says he had a good time and essentially asks Monty to hang out again in front of everybody, which puts Monty into defensive mode to say he's not gay, and he beats the crap out of Winston in front of everybody. Now, Bryce ends up paying off Winston to not say anything and to not get Monty in trouble, although Bryce really has no idea the truth behind why Monty beat this kid up. Then, after homecoming, Monty runs into Winston, who was at the game because he's the yearbook photographer for Hillcrest. Monty actually ends up apologizing, and Monty ends up going to Winston's place and they hook up again. So Winston is Monty's alibi for the night of the homecoming game and the night of Bryce's murder. However, Monty told everybody, including the police, that he was hanging at his teammate Charlie's house the entire time because he didn't want to tell the truth about where he was, because we learned that his dad would very much not be accepting of a gay son. But yeah, Ani and Clay didn't think to clear up that loose end named Winston. I don't know why they thought when Charlie was working for them and Charlie was like, well, he wasn't with me, did they not think that wherever Monty was, that person would know the truth? I don't know, but now we kind of got to sit and wait for season 4 and have to wonder if Winston's going to blow up this whole thing and Alex will end up getting in trouble, and maybe even Tyler, because if it all gets blown up, then that entire group is pretty much an accessory and they would all go down. And then no one would graduate high school or be happy. But yeah, over the course of the 3 seasons, this show's done some things right and probably more things wrong, I'm guessing. I can't believe that they had this kid go back and fall for his abuser, They had Ani have a relationship with Bryce, and then she's friends with Jessica, and then she starts to date Clay at the end of the show. It was pretty much a mess, in my opinion. But essentially, that is how season 3 ended. Alex killed Bryce, but it was pinned on Monty, and since Monty's already dead, they pretty much thought they had it out, even though someone does know their secret. But then again, we never saw Monty die in his jail cell. It was an off-camera death, so is he really dead? Because after watching shows like this and Riverdale and everything else, you never believe someone's dead until you see the body, right? But yes, how did it end really quickly for the other characters? Justin was using drugs again, but he asked for help from Clay's parents for rehab. So it seems like he's going to get help. He and Jessica are back together. Jessica's doing better. Tyler's doing better. Tony, his family got deported, but it seems like things are doing better. He's finally in contact with his family. He and Caleb are happy. And yeah, I think that's essentially it for the ending of season 3 of 13 Reasons Why. Now, like I said previously, if you're curious about more in-depth about how each character played throughout this season, I'll have a more in-depth recap of the season down in the end card or the links below or something like that. That's all I got for you right now, so let me know what you thought about this ending for season 3 and what your theories are for season 4. I might make a video about those theories as well, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss one of those, because I like to sit here and ramble about weird things like this show. So yeah, I'm Lisa, thanks so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.